it's Shannon. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to use Dollar Tree supplies to create a vintage looking farmhouse style window. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so here's a look at the supplies I'll be using for this project. I have a big 11 by 14 size picture frame and barbecue skewers, bamboo skewers from the Dollar Tree. And then the other items that you'll need are a hot glue gun with glue sticks, a ruler, something to cut your barbecue skewers down. I'm gonna try these wire cutters here. And then we're also gonna be doing a sort of vintage looking paint technique. So I have white and a dark brown chalk paint. I have a paintbrush for each one of those colors. And then I also have some Vaseline for that. So we're gonna get started by working on our bamboo skewers and cutting them down to size so it'll make the pattern that we want. And I'll give you all of the measurements as I go along. Alright, so here's our frame, and I took everything out of the middle, the glass and the backing, and then I also pulled out all of these little tabs that held them in so you couldn't see them. And this little channel in here is where we're going to be gluing our bamboo skewers. So I just wanted to show you that before I started working on those. Alright, so let me show you the general idea of what I'm working on here. So I have these longer skewers here that are 8 inches long, and then each one of these shorter ones are 2 inches long. So what I'm going to do is build these diamond shapes first, and then I will attach this longer stick onto it, and then sort of attach each one together down the line. Alright, so here's a look at the first two that I have put together, and I even went back in and put little dots on the back here to help keep it all supported with my hot glue. And I get a lot of questions about my glue gun that I use. It is the AdTech Precision Pro, and you can actually find it in my Amazon store, and I'll link that down in the description box below. And you can order it on Amazon. I love it because it has this little fine tip on it, so you don't get big blobs of glue. It's kind of good for detail work, but I use it when I need a lot of glue too, so it's nice for that. And I like that it sits on the table there, so it's not just hanging out or falling over or anything. So this is what it looks like now. I'm going to make a few more of these to add and fill in the frame. So I've just kind of sat these in here. So I made 5 of these. I'm going to do some adjusting before I sort of permanently glue them into place, but you just want to make sure that your skewer goes in that lip there at both ends, so the top and the bottom. And I'm just going to use my hot glue again to put them all into place. So here is a look at them all attached. I put glue anywhere it was going to touch the edge here. And then I also glued them at these connecting points. And no, they're not perfect, and that is okay because we're going sort of for a vintage or a rustic farmhouse look. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna flip this over to the front side and start painting it, and we're gonna give it a distressed look. So that's kind of gonna help with it not having to be so perfect with all of the shapes up here, so you won't really notice it quite as much. All right, so I want this to have sort of a weathered wood look, so I'm gonna paint this brown first. This is Waverly chalk paint in the color Truffle, but you could use an acrylic paint even. Just use a darker brown. So I'm gonna give this whole thing at least 2 coats of the brown and let them dry in between. So here it is with 2 coats of the brown paint, and I let it dry. And excuse the noise in the background, we have roofers here, which if you've been following me, you know is really, really exciting because that means the roof is going on the she shed right now. And I'll link a playlist down below if you want to get caught up on the she shed build. But right now we're going to move on to the distressing part of this technique, and I just have some Vaseline here, and I'm going to rub some of it kind of thickly on a few of the edges. And what that's going to do is create a barrier between this layer of paint, and then we're going to coat over the Vaseline and the whole thing with white chalk paint. And once the chalk paint dries, we're going to come back and rub off where we put the Vaseline, and that's going to let this brown show through the white paint. And basically the reason I gave it brown coat first is because I want this to look more like a wood finish coming through the paint. You could finish this with even a gray color first and then do the white to get the whitewashing effect and still get that like wood tone coming through, like a weathered gray wood tone. But we're gonna go ahead and start with the Vaseline, and then I'll layer over the chalk paint. Here is a look at some of the spots where I put that Vaseline, so you can see that sort of kept the paint from going on there, but we're also going to use some sandpaper to rub that off. I'm gonna go ahead and do one more coat of the white. I want it a little bit more white than it is right now. So I'm gonna do one more coat of white, and then we will go back with the sandpaper and rub off the spots where there were Vaseline. All right, so normally on wood, I would take sandpaper and sandpaper off where I put the Vaseline because it will take it off really nicely. However, because this is plastic, I'm really worried it's gonna go all the way through to the plastic and not leave that undercoat that I put. So I'm gonna try to use just a paper towel to rub off, and if that doesn't work very well, then I'll use the sandpaper. Right, so I definitely recommend the paper towel on the plastic, and I did end up having to use the sandpaper on the skewers because those were wood, because even the paper towel kind of went through and took a little bit too much off, so you can see the shininess of the picture frame there and here a little bit. So I'm just going to take my white paint and touch that up and it will be ready to go. You could spray this with a clear matte spray to seal it all in, and then your finish will be protected too. Thank you all so much for joining me for this tutorial. I love tutorials like this where you can really get a beautiful look using really inexpensive supplies to create your own home decor. So I hope that this tutorial inspired you. Make sure to take a second, give it a thumbs up for me, and if you aren't already, hit that subscribe button so you can stick around and join me every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for new DIYs, tutorials, and new inspiration. And while you're at it, hit the bell as well so you get notified when my videos go live. Thank you all so much again, and I'll see you next time. Bye everyone.